What just came out on June 7th? We'll tell you that on this episode.
We got some rum and beer, expensive port in a reindeer, so you know we're gonna party till tomorrow.
Welcome back, Marine Conservation Happy Hour crew. This is Dr. Scarlett Smash, and I'm here with Dr. Craken. And wow, Dr. Craken, do we have exciting episodes coming up? I mean, this is legendary. I'm very, very excited that we were contacted by our guests and that they're going to come on and they're going to tell us about their project, their very incredible project that they've been working on for a very long time with someone that I feel like, Craken, you've always wanted to be like.
Yeah, David Attenborough. He's one of my absolute heroes.
And you want to be him.
Totally. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? But I also know Enric of old because I actually was in the audience when he gave a presentation for his PhD research back in the day. I'm that old. We have with us Dr. Enric Sala from National Geographic, who heads up their Pristine Seas program, and producer Toby Nowlan. And they're going to be talking to us about the new Nat Geo documentary Oceans, which features one of our favorite people in the entire world, David Attenborough, as the narrator, one of the nicest people in the world. And this goes out on round about his 99th birthday as well.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, this man has been involved in this for so long. But let's say hello to our guest. Hello, Mr. Sala.
Hello, Scarlett and Craken. How are you?
Good.
Grand. We're grand. Thank you.
We'd love to have everyone get to know you just a little bit. If you could do a quick intro before we jump into Oceans.
Sure. I'm Enric Sala, National Geographic Explorer in Residence. I'm a recovering academic, and I have been working on full-time on ocean conservation for more than 30 years now. And my job is to go to the most vital places in the ocean, wild places, with our program Pristine Seas, and work with communities and governments to protect these places in marine reserves, in the equivalent of national parks in the sea.
Excellent. And so how did you get involved in this special documentary with David Attenborough?
Well, with our friends at Silverback Films, we were discussing for a long time about producing a film that didn't exist, a film that told the story not only of how we are abusing the ocean, but how we can bring ocean life back. And, I was very lucky to be involved in the film, be a science advisor, and also I'm an executive producer of the film.
And so, Toby, you're on the production side of this documentary, and having looked at the footage, which is absolutely spectacular, including some of the footage in places like Antarctica that we haven't seen before, this must have been a production logistic nightmare.
Yeah, I was going to say, I just want to say, Toby, this is honestly one of my favorite National Geographic movies of all times. And it was just presented in such a more intriguing way that I felt like a tourist in the ocean. So I just want to say thank you for that.
You're so welcome. I'm so glad you guys have enjoyed the ride of the film. Yeah, so my name's Toby Nowlan. I'm the producer and one of the directors of the film. And it fell to me to make the thing and deliver it. And what a privilege that was. So when I began on the film, I suddenly realized that we had this incredible story in front of us. So I've been working on David Attenborough films for 16 years or so, making wildlife documentaries, Planet Earth 2, Perfect Planet, Our Planet, that kind of thing. But nothing's quite come close to the scale of this thing. This is David Attenborough's most important story yet, the greatest message he's ever told to the world. After living nearly 100 years on Earth, he realizes there's nowhere more important on Earth than the sea, and that if we save the sea, we save our world. And I realized at the beginning that The story was amazing. Basically, David reflects on the fact that through the last century, 100 years, we've been living in this golden age of ocean discovery. And what have we discovered? We've discovered that the ocean is more vital for all life on Earth than we'd ever dreamt possible. And that's transforming every single year. We're still learning incredible things about how it gives us every other breath we take, how it draws down a third of our carbon emissions, absorbs most of our heat. We're discovering 2,000 new marine species every year. And then you've got this middle of the film, this revelation of the discovery of what we're doing to the seabed and to our ocean and the destruction. And it's really, really quite shocking. And we haven't seen a lot of that before simply because it's never been filmed before. So we brought this to the big screen to bring it to the world. And then ultimately you've got this amazing resolution to the story without giving too many spoilers. But basically, it's all okay in the end because we have an amazing solution. We can save the ocean, save the world if we just protect a third of it. And protecting parts of the ocean, the process of recovery is really exciting. It's very, very different to what happens on land. In the ocean, you protect an area and it fills up with life really quickly, much quicker than on land, much more dramatically, and it flows out and fills up the rest of the ocean with life, giving us a world where we can not only survive but thrive, an ocean more full of fish than we'd ever dreamt possible.
Now, a lot of our listeners will have watched Blue Planet, Our Planet, and probably everything David Attenborough's ever done. But there's a few things in this documentary in particular that really highlights a couple of issues that haven't been highlighted before. We've heard about the impacts of trawling. There's some amazing footage of the impacts of bottom trawling, but also there's the impacts of EU fleets coming down to fish off of Liberia, and particularly the impact that krill fisheries are having in Antarctica. And there's some amazing footage of these massive, enormous industrial ships taking vast amounts of krill while there are whales swimming around them. So in terms of these sort of impacts, do you think this will help to convince policymakers and the general public to get up in arms about some of these issues?
That's certainly the plan, Craken. I mean, that was the whole point of this film. That was the mission here. Everyone who's been part of this film did so because we want to create a moment in time, a chance to make history. There's real momentum building here. That bottom trawling 90-second clip released on Instagram has had tens of millions of views now. It's gone pretty viral. It's clearly stirring a reaction, rippling around the world. There's a gift here. We have this film, we have this momentum, we have the biggest frontman in history, David Attenborough, bringing it to us. And when David Attenborough says something, it's true. He is the ultimate authority on brand and trust, right?
One of the most trusted people in the world, yes.
Absolutely. If he says something, you can believe it. And he's saying this is the greatest message he's ever told. So we all need to sit up and listen. And there's a roadmap out of this. This 30 by 30 solution is the way to go. And that's so exciting because it's a real thing. It's not a dream or a possibility. Fake hope, false hope is really dangerous. But when we've got real tangible hope like this, we should shout about it from the rooftops. And it's already happening. It's not just a dream. It's already happening as we show in the film.
And in fact, I saw this morning that the EU Council has announced that they're going to prohibit trawling in marine, air quotes, protected areas in European waters, which, considering that the EU Habitats Directive, which should have protected a lot of these areas in the first place, was 1992, and here we are more than 30 years later, and they're still trawling in protected areas. So I'm going to go to Enric here. We have protected areas, but the complete lack of enforcement of many of these is really concerning. So what do you think could be done to improve on that?
Well, we have protected areas, but not enough. And it's not just the lack of enforcement, but most protected areas allow bottom trawling legally. So it's not a question of enforcement, it's a question of weak or non-existent regulations.
Good point.
In Europe, you mentioned the European Commission. In Europe, over half of the marine protected areas are bottom trawled, to the point where the abundance of vulnerable species like sharks, rays, skates that are supposed to be protected under European law by these protected areas, their abundance is lower inside the protected areas than outside because there is more pressure, more fishing pressure in those areas, which doesn't make any sense. So what you mentioned before, yeah, there is a ruling by a European court that marine protected areas and bottom trawling are not compatible, that marine protected areas should be safe from harmful fishing activities such as bottom trawling. But that doesn't mean that this is European law yet, right? There is a recommendation by the European Commission, but the industrial fishing lobby in some countries are pushing back because they want to continue this practice, even though this practice is economically unprofitable. It has to be propped up by government subsidies, and it provides only 2% of the animal protein that is consumed in Europe.
And your particular areas of speciality are these pristine areas which are absolutely, stunning footage of places like Palmyra Atoll and so forth. But, a lot of the areas where there's big impacts are, as mentioned in the documentary, around our coasts. So if you go scuba diving off of the UK, you're not going to see amazing colorful reefs like Palmyra. It's going to be dark, it's going to be cold. So how can we infuse the public to protect coastal areas where there's a lot of the they can't see, and there's a lot of these major impacts happening there right on their doorstep?
Well, you have these beautiful images that Toby and the team got of this virgin scallop bed.
That was
in the UK,
so
right?
gorgeous.
Do you want to say something about that, Toby?
Yeah, I mean, this is the great thing. Like, this is the power of film, right? Out of sight, out of mind, hidden from view for so long. Bottom trawling was hidden from view for 700 years, and here we are. And it's the same with our wonderful habitats. You go and look. I mean, the UK coastline is amazing. It has this feeling of being dark and cold, but there's so much life down there, and it's kind of blown my mind just by working on this film how much there is. And you see some of the images in the film, this thick crust of life teeming with merle beds and brittle stars and scallops and horse mussels and oysters, and it's a world that looks at home in a sort of in a Pixar film or an Avatar or something, and this is sunny Scotland.
Yeah, I've been diving on some of the wrecks off the west coast of Scotland, and some of them look like amazing reefs with, in fact, some of these warm water species that crop up there, cookie wrasse and so forth. It's amazing waters there.
I just wanted to say that as a conservationist, a scientist, we always hear the same things over and over again or review the same things over and over again. However, when I watched this documentary, I was like, no way. Like watching this footage and seeing this footage and places that I would have never seen before and didn't realize there was such great luscious seabeds and stuff like that. I was in awe. I was so excited as someone that is in the field. I felt like I was experiencing it with the divers. And I'm telling you, you guys just definitely hooked me. I was there. I was in it. I loved it. And it was very different than anything else. Very impactful.
That makes me so happy. I can't even tell you. So thank you.
Yeah, because I'm not joking. I was like, no way. Oh my gosh, it looks like that. Oh my goodness. It was incredible. It was so good.
Now, at the end of the documentary, there's a message of hope from Sir David. And there's been a lot of bad news in the press recently about oceans and so forth. So looking at Enric here, do you still have that hopeful message? Do you think we can get through some of these huge hurdles that have been placed in our way with climate change, with lack of enforcement, with changes in law and so forth?
Yeah, well, there are these three main issues, three major threats to the ocean: global warming, overfishing, and pollution. Pollution, it's a question of government regulation and industry innovation. That's fixable. Global warming is the most difficult one. It requires massive reduction of emissions at the global level, and that requires everything from household appliance efficiency to government policies. So that's the difficult one, but it's absolutely a must. Overfishing is the easiest one to solve. And we have seen it, and the film shows it. When we protect places from extractive activities, marine life comes back spectacularly, producing all these benefits. And I'm hopeful, well, I believe that it is possible to get to a third of the ocean protected, because some countries have already protected a third of their waters before 2030, right? We have Seychelles, Niue, Gabon, Palau, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica. So if countries in the global south have already protected a third of their waters, there is no reason why rich countries couldn't do it.
Talking about these rich countries now, people who are enthused about the oceans are going to be watching this for sure. But how do you get the message to the policymakers who do not watch National Geographic, who don't think about the oceans, who are thinking about how much money to make? How can you get this message to them?
Oh, don't worry. We are taking the field to them. We are scheduling government screenings, followed by discussions about what needs to be done. And right now, at the beginning of June, there is the UN Ocean Conference in Nice, in France, hosted by President Macron. That's going to be the largest gathering of world leaders to talk specifically about oceans. And we are going to screen the film in Monaco on June 7th to a gathering of government and business leaders. And Toby and our teams are organizing other screenings too. We want to make sure that every decision maker on the planet who has the responsibility to contribute to the 30 by 30 target is going to watch it.
Thank you very much, Toby and Enric, for talking to us. That's absolutely fabulous. And please do watch the documentary. And thank you very much, Marine Conservation Happy Hour listeners, for tuning in.
Hey, Marine Conservation Happy Hour crew, don't forget to hit subscribe and follow us for future episodes. And also, refer us. We'd love it. We would also like to hear from you, so please contact us on social media, or you can email us about a topic that you're interested in hearing about. If you're interested in sponsoring this podcast, or you would like us to come visit your science facility and do a live episode, email us at info@absolutelysmashingllc.com. This podcast was edited and produced by Absolutely Smashing. The music is produced by Jolly Shore Leave. Thank you again for listening, and we couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much for being part of the Marine Conservation Happy Hour crew.